Welcome to the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners issues and updates for February 6, 2024. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, would you please introduce the first item?
Thank you, Chair Smith. Commissioner Schrader is out of the office today. The other commissioners are present. Because there's an elected official in the room, Chair, I'm going to jump ahead to request for consent agenda for the Board of County Commissioners. This is under elected officials. Item 1, approval of a board order appointing Justice Court pro-term judges for 1 year. There's no fiscal impact. There are no county general funds involved. Justice Court, Justice of the Peace Karen Brisbane, by herself. Please come forward. Thank you, Judge Brisbane.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Annually, Justice Court is required to reappoint lawyers that can work in place of myself if I'm on vacation or out of town. It's called a pro tem position. We're requesting 3 individuals. Kathleen Rastetter's new. She recently retired from County Counsel's office, and so she's new. The other 2 have been working in the court for a period of years, and we're asking that you appoint these 3 individuals.
Commissioner West, go ahead.
Just a quick question how that process works. Is it like a list of 3 and who's available, or is it
Yes,
rotating?
it's who's available.
Okay, on that list, and then, so you have more than one option just in case one isn't.
That's true, because they have other jobs or duties as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this recommendation?
Chair. Just having this opportunity, rare that we get the Justice Court judge here with us today. So just asking how things are going.
We're moving forward.
Great. We appreciate what you do, and hopefully people get on the straight and narrow.
Thank you.
Come before you, and we're doing the public's good work.
Thank you.
Gary, is this a motion?
No, this will be on this Thursday's business meeting agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Brisbane. All right, now we'll go back to the regular order. Chair, would you please convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District?
I will recess as a Board of County Commissioners and convene as the North Clackamas County Parks and Recreation District. This
This is request for consent agenda for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Item 1, approval of a board order authorizing a purchase order under a cooperative contract with U.S. Foods for the Milwaukee Community Center Nutrition Program. Purchase order value is $280,000 for 1.25 years. Funding is through federal grants, donations and contributions, and North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District general funds. No county general funds are involved. Cindy Becker, Acting Director of the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, thank you. I don't know that I have much more to add on this. This is pretty straightforward. It's something that we do all the time so that people can eat. Just kind of as an FYI, we served, in 22-23, we served 75,900 meals to 1,248 people through Meals on Wheels and on-site dining programs. So this money obviously is put to good use. We feed a lot of people.
Questions or comments for this item?
Yes, Cindy, I know you're doing some great work and trying to get a better grip of the financials for the district, and I appreciate seeing the $280,000 and that $132,000 relationship of budgeted North Clackamas Parks and Recreation General Fund. Is that a typical ratio? I know that food nutrition element in the budget line is pretty larger than this. But is that ratio about right to where the district is out of general fund, Parks District, the general fund, is that the right ratio for the entire nutrition line in the annual budget?
So I guess I'm not sure what you mean by the right ratio. We have been subsidizing this program for years, and we're just going to continue to do that. And that continues to, it doesn't go down, it goes up. So whether it's the right ratio, I'm not sure what I would compare that to.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just trying to understand. It's just under about 45% roughly, right, of general fund versus the actual cost. If I'm using the math correctly, looking at 280,000, even though that's one for 1.25 years, so I'm not sure that it's on the same scale, but I've always asked this question, never got a clean answer.
So
and the question I've asked is,
sorry,
how much annually is this program and the Milwaukee Center subsidized by general fund from the Parks District?
So I can tell you for the nutrition program, we subsidize $132,000 a year. And we also subsidize the transportation program and the social services provided at the senior center. All told, we subsidize about $700,000.
700,000 of NCPRD.
And
district
CPRD
funds.
general fund, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, Cindy Becker, thank you very much. My question had to do with the same thing. In light of the increasing need here, is this going to be sustainable for NCPRD general fund in the future? And is there any effort or need to seek alternative funding for this program? Because, like you mentioned, the needs going up. 75,000 plus meals served. I know that the Milwaukee Community Center has got a very positive reputation in the area. But so my concern is this sustainable, or do we need to start looking at alternative means to fund this program?
So we do receive funds from Oregon Adult Aging OAA grant and the money that comes from Medicaid, but it's not sufficient. And to be honest, Commissioner, we're looking at our whole budget in terms of sustainability and are working on a 5-year forecast because we have concerns about our ability to sustain all the programs that we have today into the future unless something changes from a revenue perspective.
Okay, and one last question. This program helps support senior citizens in need often. But what about poor families with children? Is there a focus on providing meals to them too in this program?
So to be honest, I don't know all the criteria to receive Meals on Wheels, but people either coming to, about 95% of these funds go to supporting Meals on Wheels. And so I don't know if I'm assuming low-income folks. I don't know that you have to be just a senior. I don't know.
Okay, well, maybe we can find that out later on. Thank you very much, Cindy.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, would you please convene as the Water Environment Services Board of Directors?
I will recess as NCPRD and convene as Water Environment Services.
All right, this is request for consent agenda for Water Environment Services. Item 1, approval of a resolution adopting the Water Environment Services Capital Improvement Plan for fiscal years 2024-2025 to 2028-2029. No fiscal impact. No county general funds are involved. Greg Geist, Director of Water Environment Services. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Gary, and good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. This is the second time, at least, that you've seen this. This is our 5-year capital improvement plan. We presented it to our advisory committee in September and November, and then brought it to the board in January 24th. And today we're asking for a resolution for adoption.
Okay.
$240 million 5-year plan.
Okay. Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of an amendment with Carollo Engineers for engineering services necessary to design the Clackamas Area Interceptor Project. Amendment value is $265,300. Total contract value is now $4,293,111 for 3.5 years. Funding through Water Environment Services Sanitary Sewer Construction Fund. No county general funds are involved.
Thank you, Gary. So this is part of our Clackamas Area Interceptor Improvement Project. Basically, we're looking at several miles of large interceptor sewer pipes from Happy Valley down to essentially our treatment plants. Part of that is upgrading that involves looking at a hazardous material. As we determine the routing, and a lot of the routing will stay the same, but some of it will change, we need to look at potential hazardous materials along that route. So we did a preliminary look, the consultant did, and recommended, I think, 18 properties that need additional evaluation, in some cases soil sampling, to make sure that it's safe and appropriate for us to dig through there and replace it.
Are those properties residential or commercial or industrial?
They're generally commercial industrial, things like gas stations, Camp Withicum, things like that.
And they're already monitored under DEQ.
Yes, so part of that is taking a deeper dive into whatever information DEQ might have on the soil conditions there, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none.
Item 3, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County Development Agency relating to the Southeast Monroe Street Improvements Project. Total value is $209,740. Funding through Water Environment Services, Sanitary Sewer Construction Fund. No county general funds are involved.
Thank you, Gary. So this is similar, right now, I don't, if you've been in that area, there's quite a large project on Linwood Avenue. We had a similar arrangement for that project to do upgrade sewer pipes while they had the road open. The next phase of that project, or a separate project, is going to be going from Linwood east out to Fuller and doing improvements on Monroe. We have a force main and some other infrastructure in that area, and so we're going to contract with the development agency to do that work for us while they've got it opened up.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, is that work specifically hooking up homes?
I don't believe so, no. It's,
Wasn't that the purpose, though, of the project initially, was to hook up failing septics and get
Oh,
them,
yes.
and get them to annex into the city of Milwaukee?
right, yes.
So this is not.
This is within that North Clackamas area, North Clackamas revitalization area, NCRA, yes.
Right, but what was the mission of that initially beyond just home hookups for failing septics?
That was the mission of our part of the work in NCRA. This is a road project that is at least partially within the NCRA area. So, but the upgrades that we're doing are really to serve future needs.
Okay.
We're not necessarily part of this. There may be some homes that connect during this project, but it's not the thrust of it.
Okay, so future homes that are hooked up or that are septic?
That we anticipate needing to serve in the future. So in the future, we're going to, right now, part of that area drains by gravity to Portland. As that area gets denser and develops more, we're going to reach the capacity of our agreement with Portland and need to install a pump station on Linwood right near Johnson Creek. We have some property there already, and we have a design for it. And the work that we did on the Linwood Avenue project will allow for us to build that pump station in the future. This is another area that we need to upgrade, again, for the future.
Yeah, one thing I might know, my colleagues may not be aware that this area that's being served is the future within the urban growth management area of the city of Milwaukee. So that eventually would be Milwaukee. So they're in charge of their own collection system, essentially, or would be once it's annexed. So I think we're just paving the way, and I just want to just better understand that. I do remember a portion of that area being served by Portland and not by Tri-Cities.
Yes.
Seeing any objections? Commissioner Scholl, do you have a comment?
I just want to say for people that are listening to the meeting this morning, they should go to the Water Environment Services website and look at the capital improvement plan for the next 5 years. It's a very exciting and very dynamic plan. People, I think, would appreciate seeing that. Thank you very much.
And if I can just add, since we're giving plugs, we have several of the large projects. We have individual web pages that go into a pretty deep dive on what we're doing, when we're doing it, opportunities for involvement, things like that. So a lot of information on the website.
Thank you very much. Seeing no objections?
Thank you. Chair, would you please convene as the Clackamas County Development Agency?
I will recess as Water Environment Services and convene as Clackamas County Development Agency.
This is request for consent agenda for the Clackamas County Development Agency. It is the companion item to the one you just heard. Item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Water Environment Services relating to the Southeast Monroe Street Improvements Project. Total value is $209,740. Funding through Water Environment Services, Sanitary Sewer Construction Fund. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Chair Smith, Commissioners. This is just a companion agreement to the one that Greg Geis from Water Environment Services just spoke to you about. Essentially, good government using this IGA to use our services to relocate their facilities and upsize them. Speaking to Commissioner Savas's question, yes, the intent of that North Clackamas revitalization originally was primarily focused on the failing septic systems that were out there. We had a great partnership with Water Environment Services, did some line expansion. We have some hookup programs for those that are of lesser means that we're still implementing. But that was the original focus. Now these are moving on to other projects, such as the Monroe and Linwood project. So,
Yeah, I know that we don't convene very often to talk about the urban renewal aspects of this as the development agency, but I'd certainly like to know what the life expectancy of fulfilling the mission and the remaining funds are. We're still collecting on this particular district, right?
this is the only one, yeah.
Right,
Correct.
right. But I think we're kind of overdue for an update on the health of that and the purpose.
Thank you. Seeing no objections,
Thank you. Chair, would you please reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I will recess as a development agency and reconvene as a Board of County Commissioners.
You remain as the Board of County Commissioners for the rest of the agenda. Next is request for consent agenda for the Board of County Commissioners, Transportation and Development. Item 1, approval of a contract with Elk Mountain Construction for the East Barlow Trail Road at milepost 165 project. Total value is $482,520. Funding through the Federal Emergency Relief Program funds and county road funds. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead.
Getting my steps in today. Chair Smith, Commissioners, here for the Department of Transportation and Development. You are aware, and we have had discussions around essentially East Barlow Trail. January of 2022, we had a winter storm event causing basically a slide and a failure of this roadway, which has been closed since then. We've entered into and qualified because of the state's, I'm going to emphasize the state's emergency declaration. We were able to qualify for emergency funding to not only design those improvements, which have been done, but also this is the contract to construct those improvements. Essentially, the way these emergency relief program funds are dictated, they will cover approximately 89.73% of the construction funding. We'll cover the other 10.27 with available road funds that we have. This particular contract was advertised in accordance with ORS and LCRB rules. On October 31st, 2023, we actually opened bids on December 7th, 2023. We had 12 bidders, which was good. Essentially, a review of those bids, we found that Elk Mountain Construction was determined to be the best interest of the county based on the evaluation of the bid criteria. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Actually,
One question.
Yes, Commissioner Scholl, thank you.
Dan, this problem on East Barlow Trail, did that occur from the Sandy River come out of its banks?
and the scour, I believe
Yeah,
so.
right,
Yeah.
okay. Is there any plan to?
Armor?
Yes,
Yes, I believe that's included in the contract.
okay, thank you.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Finance Department. Item 1, approval of a contract with Vitan Construction for the Pamplin Building Single-Ply Membrane Re-Roof Project. Total contract value is $215,000. Funding is through seller credit on purchase agreement. No county general funds are involved. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, Jeff Jorgensen, Facilities Division Director. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. This morning, we want to bring to you a quote for a contract to have a new roof put on our newer building. This is the Pamplin Building, and I think you're going to talk about naming it properly later. The current roof on there is 20 years old. However, they've already experienced some leakage that's had been patched, so it is in need of being replaced. And this roof that we're putting on is going to be for another 20 years, we hope. And we have used this vendor before. They did win this bid, but we have confidence that this is a good vendor as well. And that's all I have. Yeah, those are your questions.
Jeff, you have any comments?
No, it's 17,000 square feet of roof. It's in need. It was identified before we bought that the
Yes,
roof
it's
does have to be
summer.
replaced.
Will this affect our move-in date?
No.
Okay, and
We're
it'll happen
actually-
while we're occupied? The roof will
well,
be re-roofed while we're occupied or
You
before?
can. You still can. This will be done by the end of June of this year. So it should be done, but we are working on the
Isn't the
project right now.
occupancy date in March, is my assumption?
No, I'm sorry. I believe the occupancy is closer to August.
Yes.
There's a lot of refit.
They have partial occupancy from March,
Okay.
but most of the employees will not be in there until probably in August,
Okay,
but a partial in March.
righty. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning. We have another contract going on for the modification on the inside of the building, isn't that correct?
We're doing the work,
Yeah.
facilities.
Facilities is doing the work. Okay, I see.
I believe some work may be contracted
We
out.
may have some, and there's going to have the new HVAC unit. That was another item that was
Yeah.
identified to the purchase, so that'll be the one that'll go on. We wanted to get the roof done before we put the new unit on the roof, because that has to set on the curb with the roof.
Okay, good, thank you.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with this. Just want to clarify who owns the building,
The county.
the county. And it's going to be for operations of, I know the answer, but I just want to make sure the public understands what this building's being used for, because it was a recent purchase, so.
Yeah, this is for health centers in our H3S division or department for clinics. And we actually have our manager, director of that health centers here today, Sarah Jacobson.
Yep.
You also have the contracted Genoa Pharmacy in the building also.
So I have just a question, maybe you can answer it. If not, I can get it later, and that is, does the county own all of the health center buildings?
Not all.
Okay. I'd
No.
like to better understand why and why it's not the same, or if it
Sarah,
should
can you
be
just come
one.
forward now and answer the question, please? Sarah Jacobson is the Health Centers Director.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair Smith. Sarah Jacobson, Health Centers Division Director. We have a variety of buildings that house our health centers and our clinic locations. Some of them are owned and others are leased. We have an office in health center in Gladstone that is leased, that has primary care, behavioral health, and dental. And Sunnyside as well is leased. The others are owned.
Okay, great, thank you.
Of course.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Health, Housing, Human Services. Item 1, approval of an amendment increasing funding and duration of a grant agreement with the Oregon Housing and Community Services Department to continue administering the Oregon Eviction Prevention and Diversion Program. Amendment value is $1,924,121 for 17 months. Total agreement value is increased to $3,807,357 for 2 years. Funding is through the state of Oregon. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. This amendment includes the additional budget allocation from Senate Bill 5511 into the Oregon Eviction Diversion and Prevention Program and Rapid Response Programs, extending the term through June 30, 2025. This will ensure efforts in delivering financial support and other services to low-income families facing the imminent danger of housing loss, eviction, or homelessness, and is expected to prevent homelessness.
Questions or comments? Commissioner Scholl?
Yeah, good morning, Rod.
Morning.
On this program, what's included in working with the people who receive this help to move them towards a point in their future where they will become self-sufficient and not require this rental help? Is there an element in this program to do that?
This particular part of it, so all of them are getting case management, and so that would then give them access to all of our other programs. So we have programs that incentivize landlords to allow these people to rent, and so they can get into permanent housing. There are other resources that they can be linked to in terms of how to save money.
Okay.
And so there's different, once they connect with us on this, then they have access to all our other services,
All right.
all trying to promote self-sufficiency.
Good, thank you.
Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you. Item 2, approval of an intergovernmental grant agreement with the Oregon Department of Human Services for the Oregon Money Management Program. Agreement value is $486,437 for 2 years. Funding is through the state of Oregon. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, the Oregon Money Management Program is a statewide program funded by the Oregon Department of Health and Human Services for seniors and individuals with disabilities. It offers assistance with budgeting, monthly expense payments, and personal fund usage so they can live as independently as possible. The program relies on trained volunteers or staff coordinators who undergo the county's training and supervision to engage in individualized one-on-one interactions with the consumers.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, no objections.
Item 3, approval of a revenue grant agreement with CARE Oregon for overdose prevention projects. Agreement value is $766,000 for 2 years. Funding is through CARE Oregon. No county general funds are involved.
As the board is aware, and you've been doing a lot of work in this area, Clackamas County has seen a significant increase in drug-induced deaths between the years 2019 and 2022. This funding will support addiction patients at various access points at Clackamas County, including 911, overdose calls, health centers, jails, and emergency departments. More specifically, the funding will support Project Hope, a multidisciplinary collaboration of community partners, including EMS and fire agencies, public health, peer mentors, case management, and law enforcement to reduce 911 calls, improve quality of life, and bridge gaps in care by connecting vulnerable individuals to treatment medications and other resources.
Questions or comments? Commissioner West.
Thank you, Rod, for coming today. So this program definitely has a component of medications that are used to treat opioid use disorder, also known as MAT, medical assistance treatment. On the second page here, you guys talk about buprenorphine as a pilot project. I'm a little bit curious about how this is administered. I know that now the gold standard often is Suboxone, which is a similar medication to this. I don't expect you to have the answer to this. I'm wondering why buprenorphine is what is being promoted in this program or utilized in this program over Suboxone, or is that an entry to medication assisted treatment, and then we transition them into Suboxone, hopefully, because it has a higher deterrent with when you use Suboxone to abuse the opioids again, because it has naloxone within the medication. So I'm kind of trying to understand how the MAT is going to be rolled out in this program and what that care continuum looks like. Is there a component of methadone at all used, which I think is less effective? I'm just curious about what that looks like. And you may not have that answer, but I would like one.
Yeah, we'd love to get you that. Yeah, because I'd bring in one of our doctors or Philip to answer the specifics of how the program will be administered. I'm sure, anyway, I know it's going to be best practice, and I know it's going to be what's used in the field most likely. So we can bring that back, those specifics back to you in terms of how the protocol would play itself out.
And Rod, I would say, when I look at how MATs are administered in different counties and places, I still feel like that they haven't caught up, many of them, to best practices. And so not just with this, I'm just very curious and being inquisitive about how we are administering MAT and if we're prioritizing Suboxone and when will we use. I know buprenorphine is super, like really, they're not that different. One has naloxone, one doesn't have it, and is probably part of this overall like administration of the medication. But I just want to know if we are on that kind of cutting edge of what we know to be the best medications to help people deal with the disorder. And for the board's education, these medications tend to have a ceiling on if the user can at all have any of the high effects, right? So most of them actually don't, but it helps them still have an antagonist to wean off or to manage withdrawal symptoms without getting sick. And then it can also be a deterrent for future usage, just for you guys, where methadone is a little bit different in how it operates. So I just know that these are, I would like to see these medications used more frequently because I think they're the best option for people with this disorder, and understanding how we do that as a county.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 4, approval of a personal services contract with Folk Time for peer support services. Contract value is $1,960,742 for 3.5 years. Funding is through fees for services. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, Health Centers Behavioral Health Health Centers Behavioral Health utilizes peer support services as part of their comprehensive approach to care. The service assists individuals with self-directed life planning, resource access, problem solving, and community relationships while referring clients to support their treatment progress.
Questions or comments, Commissioner Scholl?
Rod, this contract, will Folk Time, Inc. send H3S a monthly invoice for work performed? In other words, is the 1.9 million for 3.5 years, is that a maximum amount of the contract, only paid out based on the actual performance?
I actually.
And Rod,
Come forward, please, and answer the, would you
okay.
please come forward and answer the question? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
Rod, and the other question is, go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Jacobson, Health Centers Division Director. Yes, exactly right. Commissioner Scholl, Folk Time will invoice us monthly. They provide an itemized invoice for all of their services that they bill us for, and so the contract value is a maximum amount. We only pay for the services that are provided to us.
Okay, and one more question. On this kind of contract, is there some kind of performance metric that you use to judge the effectiveness of the contract for looking at future contracts?
Yes, what we look at typically would be the productivity of the peers that are assigned to us. And we would also look at how quickly Folk Time is able to provide peers, and if there's a transition in peers, how quickly they're able to fill that position again.
Okay, and it says funding is through fees for services, so do the clients pay something to Folk Time, and then Folk Time, how does that work?
Sure. So the peers are actually able to provide billable services to our clients, so the peers can bill on behalf of health centers. Typically, it is not the clients that are paying out of pocket. It would be Medicaid or
Okay.
private insurance.
Okay, well, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. All of these consent agenda items will be on this Thursday's business meeting agenda for your final action. Next, new behavioral health facility name, Rod Cook, stay here, will present. There's a memo in your packet. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services. Go ahead, please.
Okay, you have the packet, but I'll go over some of the points for in the audience. So basically, our request today is for guidance on the naming of the new facility. And so the background on this is we purchased a new health center's behavioral health facility, and it's located at 6605 Southeast Lake Road in Milwaukee, and renovations have already began. Services in the facility will be available to the community by March 1st, 2024, and so we'll start that move-in. You asked a little bit earlier on another issue, the official move-in date. As you're aware, Clackamas County has a facility naming policy and process. Pursuant to this policy, the Board of County Commissioners may initiate a process to recommend a facility name, which includes the creation of an ad hoc committee. Or the BCC could forego the formation of a facility naming committee and name the facility. And in our case, we're going to try to make a case for naming it Lake Road Health Center. Considering, and the reason why we're at this point is because we say considering the significant change in location after decades of the same clinic here on this campus in Oregon City, and the desire to ensure clear communication to existing clients for smooth transition, H3S leadership believes that the name should clearly indicate where the facility is located and be program specific. As an example, current Clackamas Health Centers buildings are named by location, like the Sandy Health Center or the Sunnyside Health Center. To this end, staff respectfully recommend the board forego the formation of the aforementioned committee and name the facility Lake Road Health Center. We welcome any feedback. Of course, we'll take your direction on any direction you want to go on this one, but that's where we think that's our recommendation for today.
Thank you, Rod. Commissioner Scholl.
Yeah, I like your recommendation, Lake Road Health Center, and I like the idea that we can expedite the selection of that name. Thank you.
I too like the name, and I think naming it for a location is, solves a lot of problems, especially for the type of population we're serving with the Lake Road Health Clinic. I think that's very important. And, it makes sense to me. Any other comments, commissioners?
The only comment I have, I'm okay with the name, is that a lot of people don't really realize that know Lake Road, don't know this section of Lake Road. So granted, there's a fire district office there, there's other medical facilities on that same street. It's a great acquisition. People know it as a Pamplin building, right? So they know that, but people wouldn't know that it was Lake Road because they know the Lake Road section that starts in Milwaukee and moves its way out. But I'm good with the name.
Gary, do we need a? Okay.
Motion,
Commissioner
please,
Shaw?
yes.
Yeah, do I need a motion?
I need, go
Oh, do you?
ahead.
Okay. I move to name the new Health Center Behavioral Health Facility located at 6605 Southeast Lake Road as the Lake Road Health Center.
Second.
Commissioner Shaw has moved that we name the new behavioral health clinic on Lake Road, the Lake Road Health Center, and Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, would you please take the poll?
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Thanks, Rod.
Thank you, Commissioners, and I know we'll see you at the ribbon cutting, and we'll let you know when that's going to happen.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item, 2024 State of the County event for the Board of County Commissioners. Seeking your input on this event, Tony Holowetsky, Interim Director of Public and Government Affairs, will present, and there is a memo in your packet. Go ahead, please, Tony.
Morning, Commissioners, Chair Smith. As Gary mentioned, I'm here to seek your advice on whether Clackamas County should host and produce an alternative event to the State of the County, and if so, what event format should we take? There is a memo in your packet. I'm happy to go into more background and talk about some of the potential formats, but I think the first question is, should we have an alternative event?
Okay. Commissioners, I'm sure we have comments on this. Who wants to go first? Commissioner West.
I think there's a strong chance I won't be able to attend this event, but I think we had a long haul of not having in-person events during COVID, and we had one, I think a really well-attended, good event. Didn't we do it in 2023? We did, yeah, and I think we should have the opportunity, I think it helps build community to do something maybe in the hearing room or somewhere that allows people to mingle and have access to one another and have a good time and to talk about the work the county has done over the last year. So I'll just say I would support, even though I probably will unfortunately not be able to attend, I will be supporting.
Actually, you probably will be here.
I think it will be in after March?
I think so.
Oh, well, then maybe I will. But I would support the hearing room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have some comments about these too. Commissioner Savas and then Commissioner Shaw.
Yeah, if the feedback from some of these different venues is any indication, I would tell you that I hear the most positive feedback and attendance from the option number 3, the North Clackamas Chamber of Commerce deal. That seems to be where people get to hear a number of things, and well-attended, usually sold out, and far more positive feedback than here in the hearing room, just saying. But that would be my preference, but that's my comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Shaw.
Yes, I like the offsite idea. And one thing we might consider, especially if we can arrange for some good weather, is to have this located in one of our county parks or in one of our NCPRD parks, highlight the park, and I think we can make it fun for a lot of people and maybe encourage a large number of attendees. Something to think about. Yeah, give it some
We're
thought.
kind of all over the board, aren't we, Gary? Yeah.
So far, yeah.
I think that we're discussing this item because I think the Clackamas County Chamber does a marvelous event for us. They are able to draw large crowds because they host a lunch, and that's a considerable cost. If this county had to pay, we'd have to charge. We have done events before like this. You know, I hear an echo on my, do you? There's an echo. Thank you, Tony. We've had an event here like this before in the hearing room, and frankly, it was not that well attended. What I heard from commissioners from the last event is that the commissioners didn't get an ample opportunity to talk about what they perceived the county was. I think maybe there was too much Q&A. And I'll say this publicly. State events, State of the Union, State of the State, State of the County, is really not intended for questions from the audience trying to assert their political point of view. What it is, it's an update from the governing body that has been elected. If we were to go back to the Clackamas County Chamber, let's talk to them about that. Let's work on the program presentation a little bit. There's nothing wrong with a few questions, but historically, that's what it is. And I think people attend those events well at the Chamber because they can hear from their elected officials. That's just my point of view. Mr. Savas.
Yeah, I really have found that the chamber really is both. It's really an opportunity for the county commissioners to express what the county's doing and/or what they're doing, and you got that. And I think the Q&A is also an opportunity for us to hear some of the hefty topics that we're all facing. I think just in these difficult times, with all the different issues out over there, I think it's valuable that maybe if we didn't cover something adequately, that the question might, again, benefit the audience and those watching. The fact that it's video recorded as well gives people access to it. And I also recall that the chamber had a policy that if someone wanted to not participate in the lunch, but participate at no charge, that there was an opportunity for people to attend at no cost in the room and to hear that as well. So, again, I've seen a lot of them and done a lot of them, but I can't tell you how many people really appreciate the format that the chamber's put together.
Gary.
So what I'm hearing is that most of you would like to do an off-site event and partner with an entity. So my question is, I think I'm hearing yes to North Clackamas Chamber, or do you want to find another external partner like Clackamas Community College, for example?
That'd be okay. That'd be fine.
Go ahead.
I would prefer the chamber, or a combination of chambers to do it together. Maybe Wilsonville Chamber on one end of the county, North Clackamas on the other would want to partner. Or maybe just bring in like a little bit more, as much as we can diversify. It's a big county, right? And so it's, I live on one end and Shoal lives over an hour away on the other end. So I think that way maybe be willing to partner. It would maybe pull assets and ability. And I was fine with the format last time. Maybe the Q&A could have been a little bit less and an opportunity to actually give like a State of the Union. I'm totally fine with the offsite thing too. I just wanted it to be a place where people get together, not online, I guess was my point, hearing room or offsite.
Okay, so I'm hearing yes to the North Clackamas Chamber and potentially ask other chambers to partner. Off-site event, lunch event where people pay for, but also free for people who choose not to eat. And we'll aim for an April date, but we'll work out all the details and make sure it works on your calendar. So that's what I'm hearing.
And let's work on the program.
Yes, yeah.
One thing that I heard consistently from every commissioner, you may not remember this, but I just wish I would have talked about more of what we're doing at the county, what we're involved in, and not just yielding questions all the time.
Yeah.
And some of the questions, I think, in the room, we'd already discussed. So let's work on the presentation of the program.
I agree. And as we mentioned in the memo, we are talking about potentially a video that we can create. Can't hear me?
The potential of the what?
A video.
Oh, okay.
To your point about it being about an update, a type of annual report. So that's something that we can consider as well, because it can open the event. and provide a lot of the information that, the update that you want to prioritize.
You mean open the event with a video?
Mhm.
Okay.
An idea. It doesn't have to be, but it also creates a longer shelf life for that information, so that it isn't just at the event. We can leverage that video for several months afterwards.
Interesting. Commissioner West?
I think it'd be beneficial too, that for those that can't attend, that would be there'd be a virtual option, whether by Zoom or by video, it's recorded, that people can just, log on in and watch from home or from work or wherever they're at. So I think it'd be good that we have that technical capability to provide that option for people that can't attend the luncheon.
Great.
Yep, and you did that last year, and we do it again. And you're required to do it when you meet as a governing body.
Required,
So,
okay.
yep,
Yeah.
covered. All right,
Okay.
we have our marching orders. We'll work together on schedule and program and report back to you with the date.
Okay, thank you very much, Tanya.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Next, federal local assistance and tribal consistency funding. There's a memo in your packet. Nancy Bush, County Operating Officer, will present. Go ahead, please, Nancy.
Good morning, Commissioners. So I'm here today to get approval for, as Gary said, the local assistance and tribal consistency funding. This was federal funding that we received. It's one-time funding, and it was to help counties and other jurisdictions to recover from COVID. However soon I forgot, the COVID, that event. So what we're proposing is that we do building and campus security for $685,541.40. This will help security on our campus for both the citizens that come in as well as our staff. It will help us also get ahead of a few security items that are going to be needed whenever we open the courthouse. Also, the DSB auditorium, so we want to update that, so we will have a backup to this room as well. And we're looking at around $261,684.28. And then you see the total there, which will commit all of the funds from this particular pot of money.
Questions or comments? We discussed this previously, correct?
Yes.
And we have yet to look at any design features, right? We approve this and then we then look at designs.
So yes, you have requested some designs to take a look at, which we're working on that. And then, yes, and then we'll be moving forward with those items, yes.
Good. Questions or comments from commissioners? Do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve expenditures for the local assistance and tribal consistency funding totaling $947,225.68.
Second.
Commissioner Shull has moved we approve the BCC staff recommendation of expenditures for the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund of $947,225.68 for campus security. And Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Shull.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Next, I-205, third lane position statement, value statement for the board. This is a revisit. Staff has made the edits you recommended. Everett Wild, I've asked him to assist me, so Everett, will you please present?
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. Everett Wild, Policy Advisor in County Administration. This is a revisit of a document that you saw last week, incorporated your feedback to the best of my ability. The big change was kind of switching what appeared on the top and what appeared on the bottom. So we're now leading with our ask of the state legislature and following up with what the current conditions on the roadway are rather than the other way around as it was last week. Happy to answer any questions you may have. I am glad to be back this week, though, because I realized that I was remiss last week. This was developed in collaboration with a great many people in PGA and DTD. Really appreciate all the teamwork that went into putting this together. So,
Great. Commissioner West?
I guess I brought this up last time, I don't see it, and that's okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be in there, but if mobility is the overall goal, I don't see mobility in our document and what we're doing. Is safety, resiliency, climate, economy, bottlenecks and stuff, but you know, for the quality of life and for a robust economy, that we must be able to be mobile. And this prohibits us, and the tolling scheme makes us less mobile. So I didn't know if you guys had thought about that when you guys made this document. Just curious with your feedback.
I tried to incorporate your suggestion under the economy icon. It says keep people and goods moving.
Okay.
That was a slight revision from last time where it was more focused on goods and businesses. So we had the people and goods.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I appreciate the good work and the collaboration and getting us to a point where all of our inputs were factored in.
Yeah, Everett reads much clearer. I think it's more understandable. I like the color combination, you know, the change of fonts and size of fonts. That's really good. Gary, do we need a motion on this?
Yes, please.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the revised Clackamas County statement on I-205 Third Lane dated February 6, 2024.
Second.
Commissioner Scholl has moved that we approve the addressing the missing third lane I-205 improvements document to be presented to anybody who wants to take a look at it. And Commissioner Savas has seconded that motion. Further discussion? Seeing none.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gary, what's next?
Thank you. Next, 2024 Association of Oregon Counties dues, the annual dues for Clackamas County's membership in the Association of Oregon Counties for this 2024 year is $135,503.09. That does include the county's membership in the Council of Forest Trust Land Counties. So the total amount, $135,000. It is a 5% increase from the dues we paid last year. Last year, the county paid $129,050.56. This is budgeted in the Board of County Commissioners County Administration budget. It will be paid from general funds, but I'm just seeking your approval if you wish to move forward and pay dues for this year.
Commissioner West.
I have really, in this short amount of time, really enjoyed my opportunity to work with AOC. I know we all have. We just put forward some pretty bold, strong policy initiatives and legislative agenda yesterday. There all day, and then we collaborated with a number of legislators in the governor's office, and AOC is a part of I think, even a bigger coalition that's being effective now with the Sheriff's Association, the DA's Association, the League of Oregon Cities, and now AOC, especially as we deal with some persistent issues in our state and region, and even going into short session. I'm really been pleasantly surprised by the engagement and the unification and the galvanization of the different counties across the state. I think that Danielle Bethel has been a fantastic president in her short tenure already. I'm very optimistic about the influence that we may have on the county level and how we're looking to kind of ramp things up and to really advocate for local control. So I'm going to support this today, that we pay these dues. I don't think it's that controversial, but on my limited time and being engaged over the last few months with AOC on a very significant level, it has been it has been great working with the staff and with the other counties. So I hope that we do approve this.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I do as well. Appreciate Commissioner West being our representative on the Legislative Committee for AOC. I do want to just do a shout out. I really appreciate the AOC taking up the recommendation that the Transportation Committee Subcommittee came up with to work with LOC and have joint funding meetings. That has really created not a lot of attention, but a lot of attendance throughout the state. And so we're able to share ideas, and also in our Transportation Subcommittee meeting, the intersectionality between all the other things that are happening around the state and funding and transit and everything else, and STIF funds and HB 2017, all those things are coming together. I think it's been such a valuable resource that our staff are even following it and going to a lot of these meetings, and we're able to make connections and get points across that I think are well worth every penny of this. So again, just shout out to all the great work that's being done and the fact that our staff are taking this seriously as well. Great work all around.
I'm very pleased with the Association of Oregon Counties. Commissioner Schrader, if she were here today, she had a little medical situation to take care of, would say how important it is to support our state organization as we can move forward on issues that affect all counties at the Oregon legislature. With that in mind, I'll entertain a motion.
Chair, I move that we approve the $135,503.09 balance due for our membership to the Association of Oregon Counties. Is that for the year 2024?
Second.
Commissioner West has moved, we approve the dues to the Association of Oregon Counties for $135,503.09 for the year 2024, and Commissioner Savas has seconded the motion. Further discussion? Seeing none. Tony, please take the roll.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schull.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, review of your board business meeting agenda for this Thursday, February 8th, 2024 at 10 a.m. It is a morning business meeting, 10 a.m. You will only have consent agenda items, public communication, and your commissioner communications. If you have any questions on any agenda items, please let me know prior to Thursday, and staff is happy to answer it for you. We're near the end of the agenda here. Next, Commissioner Savas asked to bring up a topic, reconvening the Citizen Governance Committee.
Yeah, I am going to actually defer this to another time when all the commissioners are here. It's unexpected that Commissioner Schrader had to go see a doctor this morning, so nothing's too serious. So, but nonetheless, I think it's an important discussion, and she was around when a lot of this was taking place. So I think her institutional knowledge, as well as what I recall, would be valuable in this conversation. So I'll just defer it for another time.
Okay.
Commissioners. All
So
right.
final item, Commissioner Communications.
Okay. Commissioner Communication, Commissioner Schull, you seem anxious. You're nicely rested from your vacation, and next
Yeah.
week we'll be off, and I hope to come back rested as well.
I got to tell you that the Mexicans really know how to put on a vacation. It's very nice. I'd like to talk to you this morning about my role as a county representative on the 82nd Avenue High-Capacity Transit Project. Now, we've been meeting for about a year, and in the last meeting, 3 weeks ago, at every meeting, there's representation from ODOT, Portland Bureau of Transportation, TriMet, and Metro, and myself, and then several business community representatives. In the last meeting, the estimate on the total cost of the 82nd Avenue High-Capacity Transit Project, the figure $300 million came up. Now, this is for accentuating the bus service on 82nd Avenue from Clackamas Town Center all the way up north of 84 to Cully, which becomes Killingsworth. And I can't help but think that just a few miles to the south is a road called I-205 that we simply cannot seem to fund without the threat of tolling. So I bring this up today because there seems to be a disconnect in terms of the total transportation picture. When you have people from ODOT sitting, shaking their heads about a $300 million cost for 82nd Avenue, yet being convinced that they need to push tolling on I-205, it makes me wonder, is there an overall picture on transportation? Because it doesn't make sense to me that we would be spending $300 million on a HCT project on 82nd, but cannot seem to find the money for what I consider to be an even more critical project, which is the expansion of I-205. So I'm just wondering, at this point in the game, after several years of dealing with ODOT and really getting no answers back, no acceptable answers back on transparency, has there ever been a time when ODOT was audited to check to see what they're actually spending money on in a budget, in a biannual state budget that exceeds $124 billion, if I'm not mistaken? Anyway, I bring this up this morning as a point that has been kind of gnawing at me for the last several months, and that is what is the overall big picture from the ODOT level down to the Portland Bureau of Transportation, down to Metro, on where are the real important transportation projects that need to be funded first. In other words, let me finalize this by saying, wouldn't it make more sense to focus on completing the I-205 Abernathy Bridge project, and then when that's done, and done without tolling, by the way, then look at projects like the 82nd Avenue High-Capacity Transit Project? It seems to me that the order of precedence should be I-205 Abernathy Bridge first. Something to think about. Thank you for your time.
Paul, I think you want to go next on this.
I guess I'll just, now being that Commissioner Scholl's completed, I'll just go next, and I'll just segue into his handoff there, if you will. I don't know if that was intended to be a handoff, but, so, actually, ODOT did not initiate that 82nd Avenue project. It is a state highway, and what gets lost sometimes is that it's a state highway. It's designed, was, out of date for freight as well as local traffic and everything else. A lot of businesses there. So the high-capacity transit would be a TriMet project, and that's being pushed really hard by Metro, probably more so than TriMet, right? It's a TriMet capital project. Reality is, you mentioned $300 billion. I'm sure that's just a starting point. It's not going to be the end point or the end price. But I just want to acknowledge that sometimes these things are legislatively directed more so than they are any other agency. There's federal money that they can use on this. But if you look at what the goals are that ODOT stands on or Metro stands on or whatever, the high-end goals, the platforms, safety, climate, equity, all these things. There's a few things that maybe this project actually might compromise, actually. So it gives priority to signalization, everything else, to this high-capacity transit facility, and lets cars stall off, which actually might have a negative impact on the climate, not a positive one, all for basically the performance gain of time, gives people, commuters, a little bit more, a quicker trip. But it also compromises how many stops. So currently, it would probably cut the stops, the bus stops, the stations, like you want to board a bus, and eliminate possibly half of them. So people would have to walk farther in that area. And if you are, have disabilities, that may be a little bit more challenging, right? And it might expose people to more intersection traffic and safety issues or accidents. So a lot said, but there always are a lot of projects in play, not just one. There's several all around the region. So while I do hear that, it's our hope, at least on the 205 project, that comes back online as of the missing third lane we just approved, at least that effort, that we get that back on there. And as this board's made it very clear, and we all agree, all five of us, Commissioner Schrader's not here today, but we are not in favor, any which way or form, of the current tolling proposal on this section of the corridor. But that is miles away, you're right, south of this 82nd Avenue project. So A lot going on in that regard, and again, I kind of mentioned, it kind of touched on the joint AOC-LOC meeting and other transit things, that there are some, I won't say discrepancies, but in HB 2017, they passed, part of that legislation was the STIF funds, and we are finding, and I asked staff yesterday after other discussions at our C4 meeting last Thursday night, when our staff, Christina Babcock, who does an excellent job, was doing a presentation, and the question was asked, if the STIF funding was made available to Clackamas County transit agencies, including TriMet's portion, if that amount was done as legislative intended, would that be a little more money, a lot more money, and how much money? And the response, essentially paraphrasing, was it'd be a lot more money. So where is that money going? It's going to other parts of the county because we're not seeing it. So I think that legislatively, we need to be mindful that anything with regard to transit, that Clackamas County gets its fair share of that as intended. And it goes back to the intention was that the employees who are currently being taxed, who are paying the transit payroll tax, it was intended to give them service to where they live. Okay, or better service, and that's not happening. The money's going back to where the employer is, the old way, and that's just out of balance. And I think that there's a case to be made that we are not just not getting our fair share, but we need to monetize that, and I think that's something we need to advocate for. As I've talked to OTC commissioners, Oregon Transportation Commissioners, about that as well, that needs a fix. Yeah. Just to get some equity in this for Clackamas County. Otherwise, it doesn't achieve their goals. So I appreciate your work on that committee. Chair, that's what I have for today.
Thank you. Commissioner West, you're up.
Thank you, Chair. Yesterday was the first day of Oregon's short session. It also was a long day with the Association of Oregon Counties as we decided whether or not to support different pieces of legislation being proposed, some priorities and framework and for policy through the Association of Oregon Counties. It was a very productive day, long day, but a very productive day. And I was really proud. I mean, we're a little bit, I think AOC, the only critique I could have was a little bit late into the game in stating its priorities and policy positions, especially when it came to housing, homelessness, and addiction. But they've engaged over a few months very robustly on that conversation. And along with the sheriffs, along with the DA's association, and we came out boldly as the Association of Oregon Counties that we would only support a Class A misdemeanor for the accountability for those with the possession of fentanyl or other illicit substances, with the goal to help induce or spur or nudge people into treatment and demand that treatment and infrastructure be finally funded. The big debate right now that we're all having in the media and in the Capitol and all across the state is whether or not we are going to do a Class C versus a Class A. And some think that that's just a negotiation to get to a Class B, which is, but when you look at the statute and you look at the ability to actually provide the necessary accountability, not just legally, but what is necessary over an actual treatment plan and care continuum for somebody in recovery, nothing less than a Class A is acceptable. So AOC did join, and I voted in support of this, did join LOC, the Association of Sheriffs, the Association of DAs across the state, the League of Oregon Cities, and all the rest, to support that very important policy change to help address the issue with Measure 110. While I was there, I brought up I brought up the concern of the political euphemism of deflection versus diversion that's happening within the state capitol to, I believe, appease special interest groups from the current party that holds the levers of power. Diversion actually means something in treatment, it means something in public health, and it means something legally, especially when we're dealing with this population. Nobody can quite define the word deflection, but it's the avant-garde word of the day in political circles. And I made the comment that this is not a fly in your forehead that you're deflecting. We need to be clear about the definitions and the words that we use when we create policy. So the Association of Oregon Counties adopted my amendment to their policy positions that the AOC will not interested in defining the words clearly, deflection and diversion, and that we would want to continue to use diversion as defined not only within treatment circles, but also within law enforcement, and that we don't find deflection to actually be a credible and effective way to address this issue. After I kind of gave my pitch on that, the room broke out into applause, and the sheriffs were happy, and the DAs gave it a thumbs up, and then it also passed unanimously and was added to the policy position of AOC. So AOC took some bold action about like how this actually impacts the local level. Those things are all public record and can be reviewed. I would recommend that we do that. I hope moving forward soon that a policy position paper, a one-pager, similar to what we just did for transportation, could actually happen for this other big issue we're dealing with. I presented a page a couple meetings ago. Haven't heard much movement on that. I know the staff is working it out, but I believe that they are congruent not only with our partners on the local level, but with the things we have been espousing from this dais and in public. So I think that Clackamas County has really shown a lot of leadership, not only with the other counties, but legislators. Reached out to both Chair and Smith, like, can you guys help us? We're taking, we need a statement from Clackamas County. We heard Clackamas County is doing this really great thing. And so in many ways, we are leaders in this space. And I think every opportunity that we can kind of stake our claim and our position in an effective way, I think we should do that. I'm hoping we can quickly get our policy statement out. I have not a lot of confidence that we're going to see the fixes we need right now as of today. And I don't know, this very short session. I don't even believe that the majority party has the votes it needs to pass what it wants to do to appease what I would call very extreme special interest groups that have really influenced the drug policies in this state. It's my understanding that the minority party has no interest in budging on the Class A misdemeanor piece, and that is the largest debate item that we're dealing with right now. But it sounds like the majority party may need some other support. So there is quite a bit of stuff. All senators were in the building, all 30 of them, so there was no walkouts. At this point, they are doing the people's business in the Capitol building. We will, I guess, all be watching how this unfolds. But that's what I have to report. It was a really productive day. AOC's also, it seems like, really engaging in a more robust way in the national scene. And being involved with what's going on with NACO. And so that was kind of an interesting maybe change to see a lot of Oregon's counties and the people at NACO really wanting to, with AOC wanting to be more involved in NACO. So that's what I have to report today. I think that we would be proud of a lot of the policy positions that came out of AOC yesterday, moving forward into session.
So my question, Commissioner West, is AOC willing to put out a one-page position paper themselves on this very important issue?
You do have the policy positions and principles and the bills being supported clearly from AOC, which is a little bit more than what we've done, but it was a lot of what was adopted were things that I did suggest in the last meeting where we talked about this.
So do they have that in writing for us to read?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
the policy positions and the bullet points and all of the public and all the testimonies all recorded. It could be reviewed by anybody on this board, but I believe it's very congruent with the things that we were talking about previously.
I'm interested in a piece of paper because you say we need to do a policy position, but I don't want to be sideways of the state organization. So if they have something already, is what I'm interested in.
It's a little less meat on the bones than what was provided to in my opinion, than what was provided to the board a couple weeks ago. But It was just in the supporting documentation by staff as we deliberated these items and then voted on them, and those were all in written form before everybody on the board of directors or in the steering committees.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm going to talk about something totally different. Met with tri-chairs last night, and the conversation centered around what Metro is trying to do with the supported housing services income tax, because we know it expires. And they dropped a poll, and they seem to think that their poll results would indicate that the voters would support what we're not sure. Support making it permanent, but they don't use the word permanent. They use the word adjustment. They use the word 5,200 new housing units a year in this could be had. I doubt that too. At the last meeting I had, I was able to get the polling questions beforehand. And my argument was this, Metro, I don't think that your questions you're asking are an honest representation of what you want to do, so therefore, your 60% results of yes are skewed, and they will not hold up an election. And they did admit that these were not ballot measure questions. And I said, so what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And I said, and Christine Lewis, love Christine Lewis, and I, had an exchange here. I says, fine, I've done a lot of polling, and I've seen a lot of stuff, but if you want to be successful, you will ask questions in this way and this way. So we're moving forward. They agreed to have a roundtable. And in the roundtable are the 3 county chairs and different stakeholders to discuss this. And a meeting is coming up, and I've yet to receive an invitation to this roundtable, just letting you know. And JVP from Multnomah County says, I cannot do it on that day that they wanted, because as we're in budget deliberations, I cannot possibly spend any more time on doing this. And they want 15 and 20-hour meetings, where I think they know that for most people who have jobs like we do, it's probably not going to work. You can rest assured that the tri-counties are all online with this, is that Metro does not have the county's interests in mind on this. Originally, they wanted to have it referred to the voters in November of this year. I think that has been put off, at least for a little while. I think they know they're not ready, and my question is to them, what is the problem you're trying to solve? What is the problem you're trying to solve? And in a roundabout way, well, this is going to expire. Okay, that's fine. But for us to ask the question now, I believe is premature, because we have not proven to the citizens and the taxpayers who vote on this that we have solved the problem. The only thing we have to do is look north of the border. We have not earned the right to ask the voters for more, in my opinion. And it's way too early, and we get one shot. My opinion is we get one shot with the voters. If we want to see this particular tax go forward, then we really have to hustle up and solve the problem more. And the problem with the housing, the homeless situation is, if somebody's driving down the road and they see 2 tents and they see a blue tarp someplace, it's a very visceral and emotional reaction that people have. Oh my gosh, we're being overrun by homeless, whereas it may not be lesser in some areas and more in others. And then that brings me to the next question about tolling. Many people still don't know that we're going to be told. I got this email this morning from a constituent said, Tootie, if you don't stop tolling, I'm going to find an elected official who will stop tolling. Like, I can do that. Like, we haven't tried to do that. So it shows me how little people are engaged in that, and they're just angry. And I emailed her back saying, well, if it was up to me, yes, it would be, but this is what we have done. I explained what we have done, and if you really want to, it looks like the only thing that's left available, if the legislature and the governor won't act, is to support IP4. So it's very frustrating for those of us who have been working on this tolling issue for what seems like forever, to have an email like that, but it goes to show that people are not aware, and they're not paying attention.
Chair Smith, may I add one quick bullet?
Yes.
A couple weeks ago, the Oregon State Department of Human Resources put out an advertisement to hire a state tolling administrator. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay. That means we're one step closer to the boogeyman tolling. And so I mention that only because, like you said, a lot of people don't seem to know the potential for them to be tolled on our highways in the next couple of years. And that if they haven't gone to votebeforetolls.org and signed the IP4, everybody in the county needs to do that right now and send that message to Salem, to the governor, to ODOT, to the Oregon Transportation Committee, that we will not tolerate tolling. We can't.
That's correct. And I did mention to her about our rebuttal to ODOT. And frankly, if I believe that we're responsible for the legislature reading that 30-page rebuttal to the 2,000-page EA, and the governor putting a pause on tolling for 2 years. So we have stopped literally tolling. You'd be paying, I forget the number I said, you'd be paying money now if we hadn't acted. And we need to
$2,400.
take credit for that, commissioners. When you're tolling,
Yeah.
when you're out talking about this, you need to say, yes, we did that forced their action. In December, I had lunch with the governor, and Commissioner Schrader and Councilor Christine Lewis were there also. And the governor looked at me and says, okay, let's talk about transportation. What about this tolling thing? She says, you know tolling is coming. And she says, I assume I put just a pause on it. And I says, well, Governor, that's nice, but there's this and this and this and this. And she looked at me and she says, you mean ODOT hasn't taken care of these issues? And I said, no, and I explained them further. And then Martha chimed in and said, yes, Governor, codified what I said. Christine Lewis said, yes, Governor, codified that. So she was a little bit surprised at that too. But, yeah.
It always depends on where people get their information, doesn't it? What I did turn the light on for, thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. What I did turn the light, just want to go back to the supportive housing services topic a little bit, not per se that, but if you follow the news this weekend, they released the homeless count numbers for the state of Oregon. So homeless is up in the state of Oregon 8.5%, I believe, and in Portland is up 29%.
Yes.
And that's not good. And I don't know how, if this measure is a 10-year measure, right? So I think we're in year 6 or 7, 6 maybe. So I'm not sure if we don't make gains, how the voters would react to either renewal, let alone an increase, right? I think there needs to be measurable outcomes, and frankly, decision makers need to have measurable outcomes. And getting back to the tolling thing again, the governor's power will be with her pen to veto it. She can help influence maybe what the state legislature works on or not works on. But this tolling thing is boiled down to, as I'm learning, I'm talking to our lawmakers who made this law, not us, the lawmakers who made this law. They're getting very, very slim, limited information that's not balanced, and that's why I think even the governor herself is probably not aware that these things aren't being taken, because they're not hearing from us. They're not hearing from all the folks that are involved in this on a day-to-day basis, whether they're electeds, whether they're citizens, but most especially even local government staff who know their business. They're not listening to them either.
Yep, I would agree. Good discussions, commissioners. Seeing no further business before us today, we are adjourned.